A struggling student gave up her seat for an old lady, unaware her grandson was a millionaire. I have a small favor to ask before we begin today's story. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's dive into the story. The next morning, Emma was still embarrassed. The events of the previous night replayed over and over in her head. She had spent what felt like an eternity talking to a stranger, thinking he was someone else, and then running out of the restaurant like a complete fool. She wished she could take it all back, but the thought of facing him again was too much. She had already convinced herself that she would never see him again. After all, what were the chances? But as she walked into the diner where she worked, she tried to shake off the lingering sense of mortification. She needed to focus on her shift. She had bills to pay and dreams to chase. The real world was calling. Emma had barely gotten through the front door when her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. It was an email. Subject: Invitation to Gala Event. Her heart skipped a beat as she saw the sender's name, Liam Parker. The email was simple, with only a few lines of text. Dear Emma, it was a pleasure meeting you last night, albeit in an unexpected way. I would like to invite you to a charity gala I'm hosting this weekend. Please let me know if you can attend. Regards, Liam Parker. Emma froze. Her heart raced. Liam Parker? The man from last night? The one she had mistaken for Kevin? It couldn't be. She quickly reread the email, hoping she had misunderstood. But no, the name was the same. Liam Parker, the tech entrepreneur, the millionaire. She felt a mixture of shock and disbelief. Why would he invite her to a gala? After everything that had happened? Maybe it was some sort of mistake. Maybe he felt sorry for her. Or worse, maybe he was trying to make fun of her. She sat down at a booth in the diner, staring at her phone. She hadn't even realized she had started shaking. Her mind was racing. She had no idea how to respond. Part of her wanted to decline the invitation, to pretend this whole thing never happened. But then, another part of her wondered what would happen if she went. Could this be her chance to fix things? Or was it better to leave well enough alone? After a long pause, Emma typed a simple reply. Thank you for the invitation. I'd be honored to attend. She hit send before she could talk herself out of it. The decision was made. That night, she couldn't sleep. Her thoughts were consumed with the upcoming gala. She had no idea what to expect, but she knew she needed to at least try. She had nothing to lose. The next few days flew by in a blur of preparation. Emma went to the thrift store and found a simple, yet elegant dress. It wasn't designer, but it was all she could afford. She did her hair and makeup as best she could, trying to look confident even though she felt anything but. On the night of the gala, she stood in front of the mirror in her small apartment, looking at her reflection. She barely recognized herself. The woman in the mirror looked so different from the waitress who struggled to pay rent every month. But deep down, Emma knew this was her chance. She had to show Liam, and most importantly, herself, that she was more than just a waitress. She could do this. When she arrived at the venue, her nerves were at an all-time high. The place was nothing like anything she had ever seen before. The grand ballroom was decorated with sparkling lights and expensive floral arrangements. People in designer suits and gowns mingled around, sipping champagne and laughing. Emma felt completely out of place. She stood by the entrance, feeling like a fish out of water. But before she could even think about turning around and leaving, a voice interrupted her thoughts. Emma, a familiar voice said. She turned around and saw Liam, looking just as handsome and polished as she remembered. His sharp suit and confident demeanor made him stand out in the crowd, but it was the warmth in his smile that caught her off guard. I'm glad you could make it, he said, his voice sincere. Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. She smiled back, trying to calm her racing heart. Thanks for the invite, she said, her voice a little shaky. It's really nice here. You look stunning, Liam said, his eyes genuinely appreciating her effort. Emma felt her cheeks flush. She wasn't used to compliments, especially not from someone like him. You're very kind, she muttered, feeling a bit awkward. Shall we? Liam asked, extending his arm. She took it, and they walked into the ballroom together. The evening unfolded in a whirlwind. Liam introduced her to a few people, and though Emma felt out of place at times, she did her best to hold her own. She could tell that Liam was genuinely interested in getting to know her, and that made her feel at ease. But just when Emma started to relax, something unexpected happened. As they were chatting with a small group of people, a woman approached them. She was tall, beautiful, and impeccably dressed. "Liam," she said with a smile, her voice smooth as silk. "I didn't know you were bringing a guest tonight." She looked Emma up and down with a raised eyebrow, clearly surprised. "Oh, this is Emma," Liam said, his tone polite but firm. "She's a friend." Emma's heart sank. She wasn't sure why, but something about the woman's gaze made her feel small, insignificant. The woman gave Emma a polite nod, but the way she looked at Liam was unmistakable. There was something about the way she touched his arm and smiled at him that made Emma feel like she didn't belong. As they continued talking, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that she was being judged. She wanted to leave, but she stayed, forcing herself to smile and engage in the conversation. She had come this far. She couldn't back out now. Later in the evening, Liam pulled her aside. "Hey, are you okay?" he asked, concern in his voice. Emma looked up at him, surprised by his question. "Yeah, I'm fine," she lied, flashing him a small smile. But Liam wasn't buying it. "You don't have to pretend with me," he said softly. "I know you're feeling out of place, but trust me, you belong here. You belong with me." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected him to say that. She wasn't sure what it meant, but the words hung in the air between them. Could it be that Liam really saw something in her? Something more than just the waitress who had made a mistake the night before? As the evening went on, Emma realized that the night was far from over. And perhaps, this wasn't just about fixing her mistake. This could be the beginning of something far bigger than she had ever imagined. The night went on, and despite her initial discomfort, Emma was beginning to feel more at ease. She was still out of place in the glamorous surroundings, but with Liam by her side, it somehow felt less intimidating. As the night progressed, Emma found herself laughing at Liam's jokes, enjoying the conversation with the guests, and even having a few small moments where she didn't feel so much like an outsider. Liam was right, she thought. She did belong here, at least for tonight. After a few hours, the event started to wind down. Guests were slowly gathering their things, heading to the exits, or moving towards the bar for one last drink. Emma felt a hand gently touch her arm, and she turned to see Liam standing beside her, a soft smile on his face. "I know this has been a lot," he said quietly, "but I'm glad you came. I hope you had a good time." She nodded, her heart still racing. "I did," she replied, her voice soft but genuine. "Thank you for inviting me." He stepped a little closer, his expression turning more serious. "I'm glad you came, Emma, and I'm glad we met. I know last night was unexpected, but sometimes the best things happen when you least expect them." Emma looked up at him, her heart fluttering. She hadn't realized just how much his words meant to her until now. "Yeah," she said, a little breathlessly. "I guess I wasn't expecting to meet anyone like you." Liam smiled, but there was a hint of something deeper in his eyes. "Well, I'm glad you did," he said, his voice lower now, more sincere. Emma felt a shiver run down her spine as he took a step back, looking at her with a mix of curiosity and admiration. The way he looked at her made her feel like she was more than just the struggling waitress from last night. It made her feel seen for who she truly was. As the final guests began to trickle out of the venue, Liam turned to Emma and took a deep breath. "Emma, I need to tell you something," he said, his tone serious. "I know last night, and even tonight, it may have seemed like I was just another rich guy at a charity event, but the truth is, I'm not interested in what you think I can give you. I'm interested in you, Emma, in who you are. The way you looked out for that old lady, how kind you are, how genuine. That's what I want to get to know. Not the woman I thought I was meeting, but the real you." Emma blinked, stunned by his words. She had always been used to being overlooked, dismissed, or seen as just another face in the crowd. But Liam was seeing her for who she truly was, not for what he thought she was. It was a lot to take in. She swallowed hard, her voice barely above a whisper. "You want to get to know me?" she asked, still processing what he was saying. Liam nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. "Yes, I do. And I know it may seem sudden, but I feel like there's something special about you, Emma. Something I can't explain, but I'm not going to ignore it." She felt a lump form in her throat, and for a moment, she couldn't find the right words. She had never been someone who felt special, never been someone who felt worthy of attention from someone like him. But here he was, telling her that he saw something in her. Something more than just a waitress. Emma took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing thoughts. "I'm not sure what to say," she admitted, feeling vulnerable. "This is all so new to me. I've never had someone say something like that to me before." Liam stepped closer, his expression softening. "You don't have to say anything. Just know that I'm here, Emma. I'm not going anywhere." Emma looked up at him, her heart pounding in her chest. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she wasn't just a person who had to scrape by, who had to struggle to get by. She felt like she was something more. She felt like she mattered. The moment lingered between them, and Emma found herself smiling, a small, unsure smile, but it was real. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice filled with emotion. "Thank you for seeing me. For really seeing me." Liam smiled back, his eyes warm. "I've always seen you, Emma," he said, his voice steady and sure. "I just had to make sure you saw yourself the way I do." And with those words, Emma realized that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't a mistake after all. Maybe everything had happened for a reason. And as the evening came to a close, she felt a glimmer of hope, a hope that maybe her life, her world, was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. As she left the gala with Liam, she felt like she was walking into a new chapter of her life, one where she could be more than just the girl who made a mistake. She could be someone who mattered, someone who was worthy of love, of success, of everything she had ever dreamed of. And with Liam by her side, she wasn't so scared of the future anymore. Over the next few weeks, Emma's life began to change in ways she never expected. After the gala, Liam reached out to her several times, and they spent more time together, getting to know each other better. He was kind, thoughtful, and genuinely interested in her. It was a refreshing change from the men she had known in her life, who were often more interested in her appearance or her financial situation. Liam never mentioned anything about her past, about the fact that she was a waitress, or the fact that she was struggling to make ends meet. Instead, he focused on who she was at the core, her passion for art, her dreams of opening a gallery, and her kindness towards others. Emma had always felt like an outsider, like she didn't quite belong in the world of wealth and privilege that Liam inhabited. But the more she spent time with him, the more she realized that maybe, just maybe, she was worthy of a life she had only dreamed of. One day, Liam invited Emma to his office to discuss a project he was working on. He had started a charity focused on supporting local artists, and he wanted Emma to be a part of it. "You've got a vision, Emma," he told her over lunch, "and I think you can make it happen. You deserve to have your art seen by the world. Let me help you." Emma felt a lump form in her throat as she listened to him. She had always dreamed of opening her own art studio, but the idea of actually making it a reality had always seemed impossible. Now, here was Liam, offering her the chance to make that dream come true. She looked at him, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I don't know what to say," she said quietly, feeling overwhelmed. "This is everything I've ever wanted. But I'm just a waitress. I don't have the connections, the money." "You don't need any of that," Liam interrupted gently. "You have talent, you have drive, and most importantly, you have heart. That's all you need to make it. Let me help you get started." Emma felt her world shift in that moment. She had spent so much of her life doubting herself, believing that she was destined to struggle forever. But Liam's belief in her was powerful, and it made her realize that maybe she didn't have to do this alone. Maybe she could have the life she had always dreamed of. Over the next few months, Liam helped Emma put together a plan to open her own art gallery. He used his connections to find a space, helped her secure funding, and introduced her to people who could help her along the way. Emma couldn't believe it. Everything was falling into place, and she had no idea how to thank him for all he had done. The day she signed the lease for her gallery, she stood in the empty space, staring at the blank walls, and for the first time in her life, she felt like anything was possible. She had worked so hard to get here, and now it was all coming together. But there was still one thing Emma had been hesitant to do: tell Liam how she felt. Over the past few months, her feelings for him had grown stronger, but she had kept them hidden, unsure if he felt the same way. It wasn't until the grand opening of her gallery that she finally found the courage to tell him. That night, as they stood together in the middle of the bustling event, surrounded by her artwork and the people who had supported her, Emma turned to Liam. "Liam," she said softly, her voice trembling slightly, "there's something I need to say." I've been keeping it inside for so long, but I can't anymore." He looked at her, his expression soft and attentive. "What is it, Emma?" he asked, his voice full of concern. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. I've fallen in love with you, Liam," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "You've done so much for me, more than I could ever repay, and you've made me believe in myself again. I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I want to be with you." There was a moment of silence, and Emma felt her stomach drop. Had she said too much? Was this too soon? But then Liam reached out, gently taking her hand in his. He smiled, and the warmth in his eyes made her heart skip a beat. "Emma," he said softly, "I've fallen in love with you too. From the moment I met you, I knew you were special. You're the most genuine, kind-hearted person I've ever known, and I admire everything about you." Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her as Liam pulled her into a gentle hug. In that moment, with her art on the walls and her dreams coming true, Emma realized that the life she had once thought was out of reach was now hers. She was no longer the struggling waitress, the woman who had to fight for every little thing. She was someone who had been seen, someone who mattered, someone who was loved. And as she stood there, in the arms of the man who had changed her life, Emma knew that this was only the beginning. The weeks following the grand opening of Emma's art gallery were a whirlwind of excitement, success, and new beginnings. The gallery was flourishing, with new visitors every day, and Emma's work was finally being seen by a broader audience. Her dream, the one she had fought so hard for, was finally coming true, and she couldn't have been more grateful. But even with all the newfound success, there was still one thing that filled her heart with joy: Liam. They had become inseparable. He had not only helped her achieve her dreams, but had also opened up a new world for her, one where she felt loved and supported. Their relationship had deepened over time, and Emma knew in her heart that she had found someone who truly understood her, someone who loved her for who she was. One evening, after a long day of work at the gallery, Liam took Emma out for a quiet dinner at a small restaurant she had mentioned wanting to try. As they sat across from each other, enjoying the delicious food and each other's company, Emma couldn't help but smile. She had never felt so at peace, so content with the life she was building. Liam noticed her smile and raised an eyebrow. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, his voice soft, his eyes full of warmth. Emma took a deep breath and met his gaze. "I'm thinking about how everything has changed," she said softly. "I've worked so hard for so long, and now I feel like I finally belong. Like I'm living the life I always dreamed of." Liam's smile grew. "You deserve it, Emma. I've always believed in you, and now the world gets to see how amazing you are." Emma felt her heart swell at his words. She had never imagined that someone would believe in her so fully, so completely. "I couldn't have done it without you," she whispered. "You've given me everything I ever wanted. Your support, your belief in me, your love." Liam reached across the table and gently took her hand in his. "You've always had it in you, Emma," he said softly. "All I did was help you see it." Emma felt a tear slip down her cheek, but this time it wasn't out of sadness. It was out of gratitude, out of love. She squeezed his hand, trying to find the right words to express what she was feeling. "I never thought I could have everything I wanted," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "But now, with you by my side, I feel like I can do anything." Liam's expression softened, and he stood up, walking around the table to stand beside her. He gently cupped her face in his hands, his thumb brushing away the tear that had fallen. "You can, Emma, and I'll be with you every step of the way." He leaned in and kissed her softly, the world around them fading into nothing. It was just the two of them, surrounded by love, surrounded by everything they had built together. As the night went on, the two of them talked about their future, about the possibilities that lay ahead. Emma had never felt so hopeful, so certain that her life was finally on the path she had always dreamed of. It wasn't just the gallery or the success she had achieved. It was the fact that she had someone who believed in her, who loved her for who she truly was. Liam had given her the chance to be herself, and now she could see a future filled with endless possibilities. As they left the restaurant and walked hand in hand under the soft glow of the streetlights, Emma knew that this was just the beginning. She had everything she had ever wanted: the love of a man who saw her for who she really was, a thriving gallery, and a life filled with hope and purpose. She couldn't have asked for anything more. And as she looked up at Liam, a sense of peace washed over her. She had found her place in the world, and she had found the person who would stand by her side through it all. Together, they would face whatever challenges came their way, and together, they would build a future filled with love, success, and endless dreams. The following months were filled with new challenges and exciting changes for Emma and Liam. The gallery continued to grow, attracting more visitors and artists who wanted to showcase their work. Emma had found a rhythm, balancing the demands of running the gallery with the joys of her blossoming relationship with Liam. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was in control, like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. As her confidence grew, so did her aspirations. She had always dreamed of making art more accessible to the community, of providing a platform for emerging artists who didn't have the same opportunities as others. With Liam's support, she was able to start a mentorship program at the gallery, offering free workshops for local artists. The program quickly became a hit, and soon, Emma found herself surrounded by young, enthusiastic creators who were eager to learn from her. The more she gave, the more she received. Every time she saw one of her mints take a step forward in their career, it reminded her of how far she had come. But even with all the success, there were still moments of doubt. One afternoon, as Emma sat in her office reviewing some new artwork for an upcoming exhibition, she couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't doing enough. She had achieved so much, but a part of her still feared that it could all slip away. What if she lost it all? What if she wasn't good enough to keep this momentum going? Liam had been so supportive, but there were times when Emma felt like she wasn't worthy of all the love and success that had come her way. She had never been someone who had everything handed to her, and the idea of failing terrified her. That night, as they sat together in their apartment, Liam could tell something was bothering Emma. She had been quieter than usual, lost in her thoughts. "Emma," Liam said gently, his voice filled with concern, "what's going on? You've been so distant tonight. Is something wrong?" Emma hesitated, her hands fidgeting with the edge of her sweater. She didn't want to burden him with her insecurities, but she couldn't keep pretending that everything was okay. "I'm scared, Liam," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm scared that I'm not enough, that I don't deserve all of this." She gestured toward the apartment, toward everything they had built together. "I've worked so hard to get here, but what if it all falls apart? What if I fail?" Liam's eyes softened, and he reached for her hand, holding it firmly in his. "Emma," he said, his voice steady, "you've already proven that you're more than enough. You've built something incredible. You've made a difference in people's lives, including mine. You've shown the world who you are, and you've never given up, even when it was hard. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be yourself." Emma felt the weight of his words settle in her chest, and for the first time in weeks, the tightness in her heart began to loosen. She hadn't realized how much she had been carrying, how much pressure she had been putting on herself. "I'm so lucky to have you," she whispered, looking up at him. "You've been my rock. I don't know what I would do without you." Liam smiled, his thumb gently caressing the back of her hand. "You're the one who's been strong, Emma," he said softly. "And I'll always be here to support you, no matter what." The sincerity in his voice made her heart swell. She knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The next day, Emma walked into the gallery with a renewed sense of purpose. She had been given a gift, not just in the form of the gallery, but in the form of the love and support she had found in Liam. She wasn't alone anymore, and that made all the difference. With every new exhibition, with every new artist who walked through the door, she knew she was doing something meaningful. She wasn't just chasing her own dream anymore. She was helping others chase theirs. And that was more than she had ever hoped for. As Emma looked around at the art on the walls, at the faces of the people who came through the doors of the gallery, she felt a sense of pride wash over her. This was her life now. This was the life she had built, the life that had once seemed so far out of reach. And it was all possible because she had dared to believe in herself. She had dared to dream big. And most importantly, she had dared to love and be loved. With Liam by her side, Emma knew that the future was bright. Together, they had created something beautiful, something lasting, something that would continue to grow. And for the first time in her life, Emma felt truly at peace. She had everything she had ever wanted, and more. She had love, purpose, and the courage to continue pursuing her dreams, no matter what. As the months passed, Emma's life continued to flourish in ways she had never imagined. The gallery was thriving, and with each passing day, more and more people came to admire the art she had worked so hard to bring to life. Emma was no longer just a struggling artist. She was a force to be reckoned with in the art world, and it felt incredible. However, with all the success, Emma and Liam's relationship was also undergoing its own transformation. They had grown even closer, and while their love for each other had always been strong, the challenges they had faced together made their bond unbreakable. They both knew that their journey wasn't just about the gallery. It was about growing together, supporting each other through life's ups and downs, and building something lasting. But even with all the happiness surrounding her, Emma couldn't help but feel a lingering sense of worry. She had come so far, and part of her feared that the life she had worked so hard to build could be taken away in an instant. It wasn't just the gallery, it was everything. She had become the woman she always dreamed of being, and the thought of losing that, of losing Liam, was terrifying. One evening, while Liam was away on business, Emma found herself alone in the gallery, surrounded by the art that had come to define her. She stood in the center of the room, running her fingers over the edge of a painting that she had created months ago, and for the first time in a long while, she felt overwhelmed by doubt. What if the success she had found was a fluke? What if it all came crashing down? What if she wasn't good enough to sustain it? Her mind raced with these thoughts, and she felt a wave of panic wash over her. It was as if the weight of everything she had built was too much to bear alone. Just then, her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen, and to her surprise, it was a message from Liam. "Hey, just wanted to check in. How's everything going at the gallery? I miss you. Can't wait to see you when I get back." Emma smiled at his words, but the worry still lingered. She quickly typed back a response. "Everything's going great, just a little tired. Can't wait to see you too." She didn't want to burden him with her worries. She didn't want to seem weak. But as the night wore on, her doubts only grew stronger. When Liam finally returned home, he could tell something was off. Emma had been quieter than usual, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Hey, what's going on?" he asked, setting down his bag and walking over to where she was sitting on the couch. Emma hesitated, not sure how to put her feelings into words. "It's just, I'm scared, Liam," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "I've worked so hard to get here. And now I'm afraid that it could all be taken away. What if I'm not good enough? What if it all falls apart?" Liam sat down beside her, his hand gently taking hers. He looked at her with a mix of concern and understanding. "Emma, you've already proven that you're more than enough. Look at everything you've built. You've created something real, something beautiful. And I know it hasn't been easy, but I also know that you have the strength to keep going. This fear you're feeling, it's natural, but don't let it control you. You're doing amazing things, and I'm here every step of the way." Emma looked up at him, her eyes brimming with emotion. She felt a sense of relief wash over her as his words sank in. He was right. She had already built something incredible. She had created a life for herself, and she wasn't going to let her fears take that away. "Thank you," she whispered, squeezing his hand. "I don't know what I'd do without you." Liam smiled, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "You don't have to worry about that, Emma. You're not alone. We're in this together. Always." In that moment, Emma realized something important. She didn't have to carry the weight of her dreams alone. She had Liam by her side, and together, they could face anything that came their way. The fears and doubts that had been weighing on her began to lift, replaced by a sense of strength and determination. Emma was ready to continue her journey, knowing that no matter what happened, she had the love and support of Liam to help her navigate the challenges ahead. As the days passed, Emma found herself once again filled with excitement for the future. She knew there would be more obstacles, more moments of uncertainty, but she also knew that she was capable of overcoming them. And with Liam by her side, there was nothing she couldn't face. Together, they would continue to build their dreams, one step at a time. As the seasons changed, so did Emma's life. The gallery had become a cornerstone of her identity, and her name was becoming synonymous with the vibrant, dynamic art scene she had worked so hard to create. She had poured her heart and soul into it, and now she was reaping the rewards. But more than the recognition, what meant the most to her was the transformation she had gone through. She had gone from being a struggling waitress, doubting her own worth, to a confident woman who was living her dream. And through it all, Liam had been there, unwavering in his support and belief in her. But even with all her success, Emma had started to notice something. There were moments when her joy felt incomplete. The gallery was thriving, and her art was being recognized, but a part of her still felt that something was missing. It wasn't the art, or the career, or the fame. It was her family. Emma had always longed to share her success with the people she loved, especially her mother, who had passed away when Emma was young. It was moments like these, when she saw other people surrounded by their families, that the ache of loss crept back into her heart. She had never fully processed the pain of losing her mother, and though she had tried to bury it under her ambition and her work, the emptiness lingered. One evening, as she and Liam sat on the couch, enjoying a quiet night in after a busy week, Emma decided to share her feelings with him. She had kept it all inside for so long, but she knew now that she needed to talk about it. Liam, she began softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing all of this, but there's still something missing. Liam turned to her, his expression full of concern. What do you mean? He asked, his voice gentle. Emma took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. I've worked so hard to build this life for myself, and I'm proud of everything I've accomplished, she said, her eyes searching his. But sometimes, when I see other people with their families, it hits me. I miss my mom. I miss having someone to share this with, someone who would be proud of me. Liam reached for her hand, his touch warm and reassuring. Emma, I know how much you've lost, and I can't pretend to understand what it feels like to lose a parent. But I do know that you've created something beautiful, something your mom would be so proud of. You've turned your dreams into reality, and you've helped so many people along the way. I think she'd be incredibly proud of the woman you've become. Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she squeezed his hand. Thank you, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I just wish I could share this with her. I wish I could hear her say that she's proud of me. Liam pulled her into a gentle hug, holding her close as she allowed the tears to fall. You're never alone, Emma, he said softly. You have me, and you have the people who believe in you. Your mom is always with you, in your heart. And I know that wherever she is, she's watching over you and cheering you on. Emma closed her eyes, letting the comfort of his words wash over her. She had always feared that she would be alone in this journey, that her success would be meaningless without the people she loved by her side. But in that moment, she realized that she wasn't alone. Liam was her family now, and he would always be there for her, through every triumph and every challenge. The next day, Emma made a decision. She decided to honor her mother's memory in a way that felt right to her. She would dedicate an entire exhibition to her, showcasing art that had inspired her growing up, pieces that reminded her of the love and strength her mother had given her, even if she wasn't physically present. Liam supported her idea wholeheartedly, and together, they worked to put together the exhibit. When the day of the exhibition arrived, the gallery was filled with people who admired Emma's vision, but it was the quiet moments that meant the most to her. As she stood in front of the paintings that represented her mother's spirit, Emma felt a profound sense of peace. She was honoring her past while embracing her future, and for the first time in a long time, she felt complete. Liam stood beside her, his presence a constant source of support, and Emma realized that although the pain of losing her mother would never go away, she had found a way to live with it. She had found a way to move forward, carrying her mother's memory in her heart and honoring it with the life she had built. As the night came to a close, Liam took Emma's hand and smiled at her. You've done something incredible, Emma, he said, and I'm so proud of you. Emma smiled back, her heart full. I couldn't have done it without you, she said, her voice steady now, filled with gratitude. You've made everything possible. Together, they stood in the gallery, surrounded by art, love, and memories, knowing that no matter what life held in store, they would face it together. As the years passed, Emma's life continued to unfold in ways she had never imagined. The gallery remained her pride and joy, but it was no longer the only thing that defined her. She had created a life filled with love, success, and meaningful connections. What started as a dream, a desire to create something beautiful, to make a difference, had become her reality, and it was even better than she had hoped. Liam had stood by her side every step of the way, not only as a partner, but as a source of strength and unwavering support. Their relationship had deepened over time, evolving from a deep friendship to something even more profound. They had built a life together, filled with laughter, challenges, and the shared joy of watching their dreams come true. Emma often thought back to the moment she had met Liam, how uncertain she had been, how much fear and doubt had clouded her path. But as she looked at their life now, she realized that everything had led her to this point. Everything had fallen into place perfectly. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of their apartment overlooking the city, Emma took a deep breath and looked at Liam. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" she asked, her voice soft. Liam smiled, his gaze warm as he reached for her hand. "Every day," he said, squeezing her hand gently. "But I also think about how much we've yet to experience. There's still so much more to do, so much more to build together." Emma smiled, her heart full. "I know," she said, her eyes sparkling. "I just wanted to take a moment to reflect, to really appreciate how far we've come. There were so many times I didn't think I could do it, but you were always there, believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself." Liam leaned in and kissed her forehead. "And you were always the one pushing yourself to be more, to do more, to be the best version of yourself. You've come so far, Emma, and I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished." Emma's heart swelled with emotion. She had worked so hard to get to where she was, but it wasn't just the success that mattered. It was the journey, the growth, the love they had shared along the way. "I couldn't have done it without you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You've made all of this possible." Liam smiled, his eyes filled with love. "You made it possible, Emma. You just needed someone to remind you of your worth." Emma looked out at the city below them, the lights twinkling in the distance. It felt like everything was right where it should be. She had achieved her dreams, but more than that, she had found a life filled with love and purpose. The gallery had been the catalyst for so much of her success, but it was the people she had met along the way, the friendships she had formed, and the love she had built with Liam that made everything truly meaningful. In that moment, Emma realized that she had everything she had ever wanted and more. She was no longer the young, unsure woman she had once been. She was someone who had overcome her fears, who had fought for her dreams, and had made them a reality. And she had done it with the love and support of the people who believed in her. "What do you think the future holds for us?" Emma asked, turning back to Liam, her eyes filled with curiosity and hope. Liam smiled, his gaze steady. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together," he said confidently. "And whatever we build, whatever we create, we'll do it with love and gratitude, just like we've always done." Emma smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace wash over her. Together, they had already accomplished so much, but there was still so much more to look forward to. With Liam by her side, she knew that the future was full of endless possibilities. As they sat together, watching the city lights flicker and fade into the night, Emma felt her heart swell with hope. She had come so far, and the best was yet to come. No matter where life took them, she knew one thing for sure: they would always have each other, and that was more than enough. The end of one chapter was simply the beginning of another, and Emma was ready for whatever came next. With Liam by her side, she knew that the future was bright and full of promise, a future they would build together, one dream at a time.